Today is week 4 in our final class for the Power Pilates. I hope you've enjoyed the series so far. So because today is week 4, our final day of the class, we are going to be revisiting some of the exercises we did last week, but adding on to a little bit more of a balanced challenge today. And before we get started today, I do also want to mention about the Parkinson Super Walk. I'm wearing the Parkinson Super Walk t-shirt, and it's happening in September again this year. So if you're interested in signing up or joining a local walk, do have a look on our website, or if you're not sure where to find that, you can always drop us an email or give us a call, and we can direct you to the Super Walk website or tell you about the local groups doing the walks and where they might be meeting. Okay, so I'm going to make sure my screen is nice and large for everyone here. At some point during the class, I might be coming forward to the screen to let folks in from the waiting room, as we often have late joiners in the class. So if that happens, do ignore me. Don't let me deter you from doing your exercise. Not a time for a break. Okay, I'm gonna stand up and move back. Hopefully you can see me okay. So we're gonna start with our grounding exercise today. And when we start a grounding exercise, you're just gonna stand comfortably in any position you like. Doesn't really matter what position the feet are in. The arms could be hanging by your side. You can have them in your hips, whatever feels more comfortable for you. And all we're going to do here is we're going to start by spreading out all 10 toes on the floor as wide as we can possibly spread them. So it's like you're imagining you're standing on some sand and you're spreading as many little grains of sand as you can with those toes. And then we're going to scrunch the toes up as tightly as we can. Scrunch them up as tight as we can. And again, we're spreading out the toes as wide as we can possibly spread them, imagining that analogy of the sand spreading underneath the feet. And then we're going to scrunch up the toes nice and tight. We're going to lift all 10 toes off of the floor, and then we're going to press each toe down on the floor one at a time, starting from our pinky toe, working our way all the way to the big toe, trying to isolate each toe as much as you can. And again, lifting all 10 toes off the floor. You can look down if you need some visual targets. And pressing each toe down on the floor one at a time, starting from your pinky toe all the way to your big toe. Lifting the toes up, pressing each toe down one at a time, starting from your little toe all the way to your big toe. We're going to try to reverse this now. We're lifting up all the toes, and we're now going to try to press each toe down one at a time, starting from your big toe all the way to your pinky toe. And again, lifting up all 10 toes off the floor, pressing down each toe onto the floor, starting with the big toe all the way to the little toe. One more. Lifting all 10 toes up off the floor, pressing each toe down onto the floor one at a time, starting from the big toe all the way down to your little toe. And then we're going to relax the feet and really think about pressing the entire surface of the soles of our feet into the ground, equal weight on all 10 toes and on both heels. And then we're going to start weight shifting forward to the fronts of our feet and then back to the heels of the feet. I'm going to turn sideways so you can see. Weight shifting forward onto the toes, then weight shifting back onto our heels. And as we do this, it's important that we're not bending the knees and rocking, and we're not bending the hips. The entire body kind of moves together in one plank, and the only pivot point, the only movement point is coming from the ankles, with the rest of the body is completely stationary. Weight shifting forward as far as you can and back as far as you can without falling over and without having to take a step to catch your balance. So we're playing around with how much of a sway we can do, how big of a movement we can make on top of our base of support. Nicely done. We're going to try the same thing, but now side to side. So we're weight shifting to the right borders of the feet and then to the left borders of the feet. And as we're doing this weight shift, we're not doing this with the hips again, right? We're keeping our body in one plank. The entire body is moving together. Nicely done. And you're weight shifting to the right borders of the feet and then to the left borders of the feet. And you're trying to go as far as you can in each direction without having to lift your legs off the floor and without losing your balance. Nicely done. And we're going to take this one step further and see if we can go in a circle this time. So we're weight shifting in a circular pattern, and you're really concentrating on where you're pressing that weight into the soles of your feet. And you're trying to make the circle as big as you possibly can without losing your balance or without having to step out of your base of support. Going as big as you can with the circle without falling over. Nicely done. Try to keep your shoulders squared forward, so we don't want to be twisting the body. We want to keep our chest and shoulders facing forward the entire time. Nicely done. Let's try the other direction, the circle in the other way. And just like before, you're really focusing on grounding your feet into the earth, where you're distributing your weight towards the soles of your feet. Drawing that circle as big as you can without losing your balance, without having to take a step. And then we're going to find some stillness in the middle. And you're going to imagine now you're standing in the middle of a clock face. And I'm going to call out different numbers, and you're going to weight shift to the number on this clock face. For example, if I said 1 o'clock, you would weight shift to the 1 o'clock spot and back to the middle. If I said 9 o'clock, shift to the 9 o'clock spot and back to the middle, and so on and so forth. So ground your feet deep into the ground, pressing all 10 toes onto the floor, pressing both heels onto the floor. And we're going to start with 3 o'clock. Shifting to 3 o'clock and back to the middle. 10 o'clock. Shifting to 10 o'clock, back to the middle. 6 o'clock. Nicely done. 8 o'clock. Nicely done. 4 o'clock. 12 o'clock. And you're going as far as you can without falling over. 2 o'clock. 7 o'clock. 5 o'clock. 9 o'clock. Nicely done, everybody. 11 o'clock. 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock. 3 o'clock. 12 o'clock. 1 o'clock. Last one. 7 o'clock. And back to the middle. Nicely done. Shake out those legs. Okay. We're now going to go into our 5 Pilates rest positions. Now, for those who were here last week and the weeks before, you'll remember that our 5 Pilates rest positions are postural positions that we're going to maintain at all times throughout this entire class. And even though the name says rest position, you'll know in a second that it's actually not very restful at all. It's a bit of an irony to name them rest positions because it's actually pretty hard to maintain all 5 positions at the same time while moving your limbs through space. So I turn sideways so you can see me, but you can stay facing head on. I'm gonna put my hands onto my hips, and I welcome you to join me by putting your hands onto your hips, but by all means, if you prefer to have the arms down, that's fine too. We're gonna soften the knees a little bit, and we're going to imagine our pelvis is like a bucket. Okay, so our pelvis is like the rim of a bucket, and the rest of the bucket is kind of sitting on the floor, and the rim of the bucket is our pelvis. You're gonna imagine this bucket is filled all the way to the top with water, and we're going to use our pelvis movement to tip the bucket forward such that water is falling out the front of the bucket. And then we're going to tip the bucket back such that water is falling out the back of the bucket. And we're going to do that again, tipping the water out of the front of the bucket and then tipping the water out of the back of the bucket. And we're going to keep switching between the 2 positions here of pelvic tilted forward and back. We're using the pelvis movement only to tip that imaginary bucket forward and to tip that imaginary bucket back. And you're going to try to go as far as you can in each direction, as far as you can in each direction. And then now with every tipping movement, you're going to make this movement smaller and smaller and smaller until you find some stillness where the water is sitting perfectly horizontal in the bucket. It's not tipping further forward or further backwards, sitting smack in the middle, horizontal inside the rim of the bucket. And this is what we call your neutral pelvis. You're going to maintain this position at all times during the class. We're not going to let that bucket tip during the class. The bucket is staying stationary in this neutral position where the water is sitting perfectly horizontal inside the bucket. The second position is going to be our ribs. So while we maintain our neutral pelvis, the bucket is not moving, we're going to think about a seat belt at the front of our ribs, and we're clipping our ribs into our spine. So we're not letting the ribs flare out, we're clipping the ribs into our spine. And while we have our ribs clipped into the spine, we're still maintaining the neutral pelvis, the neutral bucket position. We're not moving the bucket now just because we've clipped the ribs in. So as we clip the ribs in, we're maintaining the neutral pelvis. And now we're going to think about our shoulder blades squeezing back and sliding down our backs as if we're trying to tuck them into the opposite back pocket of our pants. And all the while, we're maintaining the ribs clipped into our spine and the neutral pelvis not moving. That bucket of water, not a single drop is moving. And then we're going to think about our neck. Long backs of the neck, like someone's pulled you up from behind the ears, and you're tucking your chin in slightly as if you've got a little peach that you're holding underneath your chin. And while you're doing that with your head and neck, you're maintaining the shoulder blades sliding down your backs as if we're tucking them into the opposite back pocket of our pants. Ribs still clipped in and tucked in towards the spine. Neutral pelvis is still in its position. The bucket has not moved. And then we're going to pull up through our pelvic floor. Imagine you've sat in some cold water and you're pulling up through the bottom of your pelvic floor. All 5 of these movements make up our 5 Pilates rest positions, which we're now maintaining. And as we maintain all 5 Pilates positions, we're going to go into our walking. We're bringing one heel up and then the other. So essentially, we're pedaling through our feet, opposite arm, 2 leg moving. And as we do our Pilates walking, I want you to maintain all 5 Pilates rest positions that we just went over. The bucket of water, that's your pelvis, not moving. Not a single drop in that bucket is tipping. So we're keeping that bucket completely stationary. Ribs are still clipped in and tucked into our spine. Shoulder blades are squeezing together, sliding down our backs as if we're tucking them into the opposite back pocket of our pants. Long back of the neck, little peach tucked under the chin, pulling up through our pelvic floor. As we do the walking, try to keep your weight in the middle. Try not to shift your weight from side to side. We're going to keep our weight in the middle, keeping that neutral bucket, that neutral pelvis. Imagining your pelvis being that bucket of water. Not a single drop is moving. The water level is completely stationary. Breathing, nicely done. Keep the ribs tucked in. Don't let the ribs flare out. Keep them tucked in. Shoulder blades squeezing back and sliding down your backs. Nicely done. Long necks, pulling up through the pelvic floor. Drop the arms, keep the legs going. We're going to bring the arms forward. Overhead. To the side. Lower down. To the front. Overhead. To the side. Lower down. Keep going. As we do this, we're maintaining our neutral bucket, our neutral pelvis. Not a single drop of water is moving in our bucket. Ribs still tucked into the spine, not flaring out. Shoulder blades sliding down the backs as if we're tucking them into the opposite back pocket of our pants. Long backs of the neck, pulling up through the pelvic floor. Nicely done. One more. To the front. Neutral pelvis. Overhead. Shoulder blades down. Open up. Lower down. And rest. Drop both heels down. Maintain all 5 Pilates rest positions. Think about that neutral pelvis that we just talked about. Your bucket of water not moving. The water is sitting completely horizontal in the bucket. Ribs clipped in, tucked into your spine. Shoulder blades squeezing back and sliding down your backs as if we're tucking them into the opposite back pocket of the pants. Long back of the neck, little peach tucked under the chin, and we're going to go into our plies. Your feet should be about hip width apart, parallel to each other. We're floating the arms up, and we're going into our plies. I'll show you from the side. The plies, we're maintaining our trunk position. We're just sending those knees forward. You see my spine is in line with my heels. My knees are being sent forward over my toes. This is not the same as a squat. A squat, we send our hips back. But for this one, we're doing a plie. We're sending our knees forward. And as we do our plie, we want to make sure that we've maintained all 5 Pilates rest positions. That neutral bucket we talked about, not tipping, right? We're keeping our pelvis completely still. Ribs are still clipped in into your spine. Shoulder blades still squeezing together and sliding down our backs as if we're tucking them into the opposite back pocket of the pants. Long back of the neck, little peach tucked under the chin as we're doing this. Nicely done. Long necks. Pulsing for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Standing up. Again, pulsing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Standing up. Keep your neutral pelvis as you're pulsing. Long necks as you're pulsing. Ribs still tucked into your spine. Shoulder blades sliding down your backs as if you're tucking them into the opposite back pocket of your pants. Pulsing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pulsing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Pulsing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hold it here. Maintain the same height. You're going to lift both heels off the floor and down. Maintain your same height. Imagine you've got something balanced on top of your head. You're maintaining your height. Your height has not changed. If I cover the bottom of your legs from the hips down and I only saw you from the trunk up, it shouldn't look like you're moving at all because your height has not changed. You're just lifting the heels, dropping them down. Lifting the heels, dropping them down, going for 10, 9, 8, same height, ribs in. 7, neutral pelvis. 6, shoulder blades sliding down. 5, long necks. 4, keep breathing. 3, 2, 1, standing up. Maintain your 5 Pilates rest positions. Neutral pelvis, ribs tucked in, shoulder blades squeezing back, sliding into the opposite back pocket of your pants, long back of the neck, pulling up through the pelvic floor. Play again. Maintain the same height. This time, we're going to oscillate each heel like so. We're pedaling through our feet, but we're maintaining that same height again. Maintain that same height. Pedaling through the feet, maintain the same height. Neutral pelvis, ribs tucked in, shoulder blades still sliding down your backs, long necks. Last 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, same height. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Both heels for 10, 9, same height. 8, 7, neutral pelvis. 6, 5, 4, 3, ribs in. 2, last 1, standing up. We're going into our foot series now. Plie down, lift both heels, rise up if you can, and lower the heels. Again, plie, both heels up, rise and lower. 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 2 more. Plie, heels up, rise and lower. Last one, neutral pelvis, heels up, rise and lower. Reverse, rise, bend down, heels down and up. Rise, plie, heels down and up. Rise, plie, heels down and up. 3 more. Rise, plie, heels down and up. 2 more. Rise, plie, heels down and up. 1 more. Rise, plie, heels down. Rise up and rest. Shake out those legs. Nicely done, everybody. Bit of a challenging one for you today. Okay, we're going to take a moment. I'm standing sideways again. We're going to take a moment and re-find our 5 Pilates rest positions. So we're going to start with our pelvis again, putting our hands onto our hips. And you're going to imagine that rim of the bucket being your hips, and you're going to tip the bucket forward and back to let water tip out the front and the back of the bucket. You're going as far as you can in each direction. And then with every movement, you're going to make this tipping smaller and smaller until you come to stillness. Well, your pelvis is neutral. The water is sitting perfectly horizontal inside the rim of the bucket. It's not tipping more forward and it's not tipping more back. It's sitting perfectly in the middle. And then while you maintain that neutral pelvis, you're going to imagine there's a seatbelt at the front of the ribs and you're clipping the seatbelt in such that you're tucking the ribs into the spine, shoulder blades squeezing together, sliding down your backs as if you're tucking them into the opposite back pocket of your pants, long back of the neck, tuck that chin in slightly as if you're holding a little peach under the chin, pulling up through the bottom of your pelvic floor. From here, maintaining all 5 Pilates rest positions, we're going into our tendus. We're sliding the leg away. It's almost like you've got a paintbrush at the bottom of your foot and you're brushing the floor. You're brushing the floor with your foot. We're not lifting it forward, we're brushing along the floor. And as we're doing our tendus, we're maintaining all 5 Pilates rest positions. Neutral pelvis, ribs tucked into your spine, shoulder blades sliding down your backs, long back of the neck, little peach under the chin. Nicely done. Don't let a single drop of water move in that imaginary bucket. That's your pelvis. Sliding, brushing the foot along the floor. Almost like you're pushing down into the floor to brush that leg out. Nicely done, everybody. Brushing down into the floor. Maintain that neutral pelvis. Don't let the hips shake side to side. We're maintaining our neutral pelvis the entire time. It's as if I put a spirit level on top of the water and you want that to be completely stationary. We're going to take this a little further and brush off the floor. Keep the arms forward. Brush off the floor. Brush off the floor. You're pushing down into the floor to brush the leg off the floor, like you're extending into the floor to come up, into the floor to come up, brushing away. Nicely done. Pulsing for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Brushing the floor for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Maintain your neutral pelvis. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep those ribs in. Don't let them flare. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Shoulder blades sliding down your backs. Long necks. Brush the foot away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Brush away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Brush away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 2 more. 4, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last one. Brush away. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Plie. Tapping the shoulders. Keep those elbows up nice and high. Plie. Sink down into the floor. Keep the elbows up. You want the elbows pointing forward, not down. Point the elbows forward. Nicely done. Pulsing for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Palms down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Palms up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Palms down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Palms up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reaching the arms out and in. Squeezing the shoulder blades back. Keep the arms up nice and high. Tapping the shoulders. Keep your elbows up nice and high as you can. Get the elbows to be pointing directly outwards. We're still in that plie, sinking a little lower. Nicely done. And we're going to pulse palms down for our 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Palms up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Palms down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Palms up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Palms down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Palms up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And drop the arms. Shake them out. Relax those shoulders. Nicely done. We're going to bring the feet in so that they're touching. Ooh, I'm going to let somebody in the waiting room. So standing with your feet touching together, we're going to re-find our 5 Pilates rest positions now with our legs together. So we're thinking about our neutral pelvis. So remember a moment ago we did this. We're thinking about our neutral pelvis. You're tipping your pelvis forward and backwards as far as you can in each direction until you find some stillness smack in the middle of 50% between tipping as far as you can forward and 50% between tipping as far as you can backwards. Ribs tucked into our spine, shoulder blades squeezing back, sliding down our backs, long necks, little peach tuck under the chin, pulling up through the pelvic floor. From here, keeping our heels together, we're opening the toes out to the side in a diagonal. We're gonna float our arms up in a diagonal as well. And just like before, we're going into our tandus. We're brushing the floor and coming in. We're trying to get our leg out in a diagonal position, brushing the floor. So you're pushing down into the floor to lengthen, down to lengthen, brushing the foot along the floor. And the challenge here is as you're doing this, you're going to try to make sure your trunk doesn't move as much as you can. There will be some side to side movement, of course, because you're weight shifting. We're trying to keep our body in the middle. So it's as if I covered up your legs with a big sheet and I only saw you from the hips up, it shouldn't look like you're moving at all. Shoulder blades down, ribs tucked into your spine, neutral pelvis, long backs of the neck. Brushing, you're brushing the floor. Nicely done. Brushing the floor. And bring our heels together again. We're going to go down into our little plies on this diagonal, little plies. Nicely done. Keep those ribs in. Keep the pelvis nice and neutral. Shoulder blades still squeezing back, sliding down into the opposite back pocket of our pants. Nicely done. We're going to go back into our tandus, but this time you're going to lift off the floor and you're going to pulse for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Try to stop your trunk from moving. Keep everything completely still. Other side, off the floor, pulsing for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep your trunk still if you can. Again for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Long backs of the neck, shoulder blades sliding down your back. One more each side. Pulsing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last time. Pulsing 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And drop. Shake it out. Shake it out. Nicely done, everybody. This time, we're going to open the legs nice and wide. So we're going a little bit wider than the hips, so it's almost like you're creating a bit of a triangle with your legs. And just like before, you want the toes to be pointing out on a diagonal, so they're not pointing directly forward, but you want the toes to be pointing out. From here, we're going to refine our 5 Pilates positions. You'll find that it's probably going to feel a little harder now that your legs are apart. I'm going to go sideways so you can see me again. So soft bend to the knees, and we're going to start by tipping our pelvis. So just like the analogy we had mentioned throughout the class, you're thinking about your pelvis is like a bucket of water, and your pelvis is the rim of the bucket. And you fill the bucket all the way to the top with water, and you're tipping your pelvis such that you're letting water come out the front of the bucket and then the back of the bucket. And you're going to go as far as you can in each direction. And then when you're ready, you're going to make each movement smaller and smaller and smaller until you come to some stillness where your pelvis is sitting perfectly neutral in the middle, 50% from tipping as far as you can forward and 50% tipping back as far as you can. So smack in the middle. Ribs, we're thinking about clipping the seatbelt in front of the ribs so that the ribs are tucked into our spine, shoulder blades squeezing back and sliding down as if we're tucking them into the opposite back pocket of our pants, long back of the neck, little peach tucked in under the chin, pulling up through the pelvic floor. From here, we're going into our plies, sending our knees out in a diagonal. Maintain all 5 Pilates rest positions, neutral pelvis. Not a single drop of water is moving in that bucket. Ribs tucked into your spine, shoulder blades squeezing together and sliding down our backs. Long back of the neck, Little peach tucked underneath the chin. Nicely done. Plie. Send the knees over those toes. Point the knees out on a diagonal. Nice long necks, ribs tucked in. Holding down, pulsing for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back up. Again, pulsing 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming up, ribs in. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, keep that neutral pelvis. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Coming up. Last one. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Holding here. One heel up at a time. Maintain that same height if you can. Maintain the same height, like you've got something balanced on top of your head. Neutral pelvis, ribs tucked into your spine, shoulder blades sliding down your backs, long back of the neck. Last 10, 9, 8, same height. 7, don't move your body. 6, 5, completely still. 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to our plies again. Keep the arms out if you can. Ribs tucked in, shoulder blades sliding down our backs. Neutral pelvis. Nicely done. Holding at the bottom again. This time, both heels come up if you can. Keep that same height. Both heels up. Same height, same height. Neutral pelvis. Ribs tucked into your spine. Shoulder blades sliding down your back. Long backs of the neck, little peach under the chin, pulling up through your pelvic floor. Last 10, same height. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Standing back up, shake it out, shake it out. Shake out your arms. Nicely done, everybody. Nicely done. When you're ready, we're coming back to our second position again, our neutral, our wide stance with the toes pointing out on a diagonal. From here, we're floating the arms up to a T again. This time when we plie, we're gonna shift our weight from side to side. Whoops, let me move over. We're shifting our weight from side to side, and you're keeping that same height again as we shift our weight, and we're not tipping sideways. You wanna keep your body, your shoulders, your chest in one line. It's almost like if you got a spirit level sitting on each arm, the spirit level stays the same. Nicely done. Take it a little bit further so that your heel comes off the floor. You're pointing the toes. Nicely done. Neutral pelvis, ribs tucked in, shoulder blades sliding down your backs, long back of the neck, little peach tucked under the chin, pulling up through the pelvic floor. Nicely done. Pulsing here. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Other side for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Other side for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Keep your body completely stationary if you can, other than the leg pulsing. Last 2, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Back to the middle, back to our plies. Drop the arms for a second, place them onto your hips. Back to your plies, sending the knees out on a diagonal over your toes. We're gonna add in our foot series here. Plie, heels up, rise up if you can, and lower. Plie, heels up, rise up, and lower. Plie, heels up, rise up, and lower. Plie, heels up, rise up, lower. One more. Plie, heels up, rise up, and lower. Reverse, rise. Plie with the heels up, heels down, and up. Again, rise. Plie, heels down, and up. Rise. Plie, heels down, and up. Rise. Plie, heels down, and up. Last one, rise. Plie, heels down, and up. And let's go into our mermaid stretch. We're just shifting our weight side to side, curving our body over the leg. You might want to take your legs a little bit wider if you like to get a little bit further. Just gently moving our weight side to side. And then we're going to hold the side position. Nicely done, everybody. And then the same on the other side, stretching over. One more each side. Gentle breathing. And last time on the other side. We're going to do our calf stretch. One leg forward, one leg back. The front leg is bent and the back knee is straight. You can hold on to something if you like. And you're going to try to keep that back leg as straight as you can. Dig that heel into the floor. And you should feel a stretch in that back calf muscle. You're keeping that leg as straight as you can, pressing that heel down into the floor. If you're not feeling the stretch and your heel is already on the floor, you might want to separate the legs more. But on the other hand, if your knee is bent and you're not able to straighten it anymore, you probably need to bring it in closer. But you should feel a stretch in the back of the heel, in the back of the calf. And let's switch over. Same on the other side. Front knee bent, back leg straight. Really think about pressing that back heel down into the floor so you're really getting the back of the calf. Nicely done. Breathing, hopefully. And we're going to do a thigh stretch. You've got two options. Number one, you're holding onto a wall, first of all, for balance. You're grabbing your foot and you're pulling it up towards your bottom. Your knees should be in one line. You shouldn't have one knee further forward than the other. Both knees should be in one line, pulling the foot up towards your bottom, push your hips forward, and you should feel a stretch at the front of the hip and the thigh. If this is too much for you, you can place a chair behind you and place that foot on a chair behind you. The same idea, knees in one line, push the hips forward, even if your foot is on the chair. Whichever version works better for you. Try to stand up as tall as you can. Nicely done. Let's do the same thing on the other side. So either version, either hold on to your foot, knees in one line, pull the foot up towards your bottom, push your hip forward, or you can place the foot back onto a chair or a stool. And same thing, knees in one line, push the hips forward to feel a stretch at the front of the thigh and the hip. Breathing. Nicely done. Release, one leg forward, bending the back knee, straighten the front knee. We're going to place our arms up overhead like so. Lengthen through your spine. Keep your spine as long as possible. Hinge at the hips. Keep the spine as long as possible, but as low down as you can go. Breathing. Stick your hips back, spine nice and long. Go as low as you can. And coming back up. One more. Same thing. Bending back. Keep your spine as long as you can, like someone's pulling you to the corner of the room. Coming up, let's switch legs. Same thing, hinging at the hips. Keep your spine as long as possible, and you're hinging forward at the hips. Spine long, as long as you can. Nicely done, breathing. Coming up, one more time. Nice long spine, hinging at the hips. And coming back up. We're going to return to our grounding exercise to finish. standing in a comfortable position. You can either have your hands on your hips or drop them down by your side, whatever works for you. We're going to start with the toes. We're going to start by spreading all 10 toes on the floor as wide as you can. Imagine you're standing on sand and you're trying to spread out as many little grains of sand as you can away from your toes. So really pressing all 10 toes down into the ground to spread them out. And then you're going to scrunch up the toes as tightly as you can. All 10 toes scrunching in like you're picking sand up. Again, spreading the sand away from you. Spread all 10 toes as wide as you can. And then scrunching, picking up as much sand as you can with those toes again. One more. Spreading out the toes as wide as you can. Almost like you're pushing sand away from your feet. And then pulling up the toes like you're picking up as much sand as you can. And now we're lifting up all 10 toes off the floor. And you're going to press each toe down one at a time, starting from your little pinky all the way to your big toe. You're really articulating through the foot. Again, picking up the toes, pressing them down one at a time, starting from your little pinky all the way down to your big toe, articulating as much as you can. Lift them up. Again, last time, pressing down from your little pinky all the way to your big toe. And we're going to reverse, lifting up the toes, pressing them down one at a time from the big toe all the way to your little toe, articulating through the foot. Again, lift up the toes, press them down one at a time, starting from your big toe all the way to your pinky. Last one, lift the toes, press them down one at a time from your big toe all the way down. And then keeping equal weight on all 10 toes and spread throughout the soles of your feet. We're going to start weight shifting in a circular pattern again. Just like we did before, the entire body is weight shifting over our feet in a circular pattern. We're not using our hips, our entire body going. You're trying to draw as big of a circle as you can. Weight shifting, pressing the weight through the soles of your feet. And the other direction. As big of a circle as you can. And just making a mental note for yourself. Are you able to go a little further than you did at the beginning? Maybe yes, maybe no. And then we're going to find some stillness, pressing the soles of our feet into the ground. And rest. Thank you, everyone, for joining me for your final Power Pilates class. I hope that was lots of fun, even if it does feel challenging. The class finished a little earlier today because we added in a lot of challenging elements. And so you're probably wiped, which is good. So Pilates practice is something that's really wonderful to do because you are doing a lot of strength work, a lot of strength training, a lot of postural control without it necessarily being high impact. So when I say high impact, I mean as in you're not doing jumps, you're not doing big lunges and leaps and things like that, but you're still be able to maintain all of your posture muscles and posture control. And even though it doesn't look like much, it's actually quite challenging when you're trying to maintain all 5 Pilates rest positions at all times during the class. So I definitely encourage you to continue with Pilates if it's something that you've enjoyed. Of course, with this class, it's a modified Pilates class because everything's in standing. Whereas your traditional Pilates class will be a mix of standing and then some floor work as well, but all with the basis of maintaining your 5 Pilates rest positions throughout the class. So I definitely encourage you to try Pilates if it's something that you enjoyed in our class. Other than that, make sure you check out the Super Walk website through our Parkinson's website. And in August, we also have a PD play class coming up, which I'm also teaching. And this PD play class is actually game-based, so it's lots of fun. It's a game-based dual tasking kind of class. So even though it's sort of an exercise class, well, it is an exercise class, but it's disguised as games, which will be lots of fun if you're someone who doesn't really like exercising. Because let's be honest, who does? But thank you very much for being here today, and I hope you enjoyed the series, and I hope to see you back for our future classes. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Thank you for joining in. Have a great rest of your week.